Welcome back to A Fresh Story, the podcast where we have conversations about brave decisions to start over again. I'm Olivia.
And I'm Jenny, and we're so glad you're here today.
Hello, sister. I am really hungry.
I'm so hungry. Well, we have to stop recording these before lunch. I say it every time. But I am thinking maybe I'm going to have a salad and I'm going to have it on I'm going to chop it up so it's more like a dip, and then I'm going to serve it to myself on chips.
I was just thinking my favorite thing, I actually don't love tacos. I realize this. I'm going to be very honest. I don't really enjoy them. What I love is a well-chopped taco salad, and then you use scoops or
tortilla
chips,
strips,
tortilla
chips,
to do it like a dip. Yeah, like you said.
Dr. Brad said that the scoops, the Tostito scoops, are his favorite thing, and basically his life is, what can I put on a scoop?
We had the chance to talk to Dr. Brad, who is a podiatrist and foot and ankle surgeon.
He's the owner of Soul, which is a podiatry clinic on Central Park.
Right. He's in Manhattan, and he had an amazing, beautiful story about his journey coming out and really finding himself. It was a fantastic, funny, upbeat, energetic conversation with him. He has so much personality. He has a reality television show, for those of you that don't know him from that, on TLC. And he is just this amazing, magnetic person. And I can see why people would go to him and want to be his client. And so positive.
I also think, we talked, one of the parts I really connected with was the talking about the different ways that people are the loves of your life, basically. And he was married, and now he's not married anymore. And that woman is still really, really important to him.
I love that part of the conversation. And I loved too, he talked a lot about teaching his loved ones how to support him. And that's such a big part of what we do. And I just love that. Literally teaching them the language. And I think that was such an interesting
and setting boundaries, right? See, he set boundaries for himself and for his self-care. And it was such a great conversation that ended with a really important conversation about Tostito scoops.
Every good conversation ends in a conversation about Tostito scoops.
Corn chips, man.
Feel free to sponsor us, Tostitos. Okay. Enjoy the conversation with Dr. Brad. And please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to A Fresh Story so we can keep telling fresh start stories. Dr. Brad is a board-certified podiatrist and foot surgeon with a practice on the Upper West Side of the city. Well, we say the city because we're from of New York City. He was recently recognized as one of the 3 finalists in Men's Health Magazine's Ultimate Men's Health Guy Contest 2023 for his hard work, humility, integrity, and the belief that each of us can always do a little better. He was a finalist in NBC's The Titan Games and continues to share his love of fitness on his motivational Instagram fitness portal, Nothing But Net, No Excuses Team, simply to share and generate interactive excitement about fitness. He can also be seen on the popular TLC show My Feet Are Killing Me, where he is known to bring compassion and his medical expertise to patients' lives. He is a proud member and advocate for the LGBTQ+ community. His public coming out story was featured on NBC News' Today.com and continues to reverberate across straight and queer media. And we are super excited to have you here today, Dr. Brad. I'm just going to call you Dr. Brad. To share all your fresh starts. So thank you for being here and taking the time, because you are a busy, busy man.
Nope, it's okay. It's my pleasure. And I appreciate you having me on. Thank you.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you here today. We grew up a little bit on the Upper West Side, so it feels, you're
awesome.
not that far from. Our dad lived there. He just moved out, so he's been there for 20 years.
Well, yeah,
anyway,
definitely.
It's a special place, the Upper West Side.
I love it. I'm actually looking to move here. So my practice is here on 85th and Central Park West.
Okay.
And right now I live in Hoboken, New Jersey.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a commute.
I love it. Yeah, not bad though.
Not bad. It's path right over and then the one straight up or something like that, right?
Yeah, a variety of different ways to get here. One way that is super fun is I got a scooter, one of those e-scooters.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll scoot up the West Side Highway when it's nice out. and
That's
take the
awesome.
ferry across. Yeah.
That
so.
is nice. Yeah. I always enjoy taking a boat if I can take a
Heck
ferry if
yeah.
I can. Yeah, it's a great way of transportation. Why don't
Absolutely.
you take us back to the beginning of your Fresh Start story?
Sure. And I appreciate you asking me about that because it is something that I'm super passionate about.
Yeah.
I recently, publicly came out. I've been out for the past 10 years. And I wouldn't necessarily call that my fresh start, but fresh start definitely with others, especially socially, more social media and in the TV world. As far as my fresh start was concerned, that was, in my upper 20s when I was married. I was married out of college to a beautiful girl. I love her very much. She is still one of my best friends. So we maintained a very close relationship. But when studying and in the rigors of medical school, your mind just doesn't think about your career, how to help people. There's also a lot of internal reflection that goes on too. And you battle a ton of demons when it comes to that. And all of that internal reflection led me to, finally realizing that I didn't want to live a lie.
Right.
And the lie was, trying to be that straight, Christian male that I was honestly scripted to be my whole life. Honestly, by society and different people in my life. And it was kind of the role that I was willing to play to just make everyone happy. So my fresh start was my realization that I did not need to play that role anymore.
I love that. And I think, one of the things we've been talking about a lot with Valentine's Day coming up is sort of romance within friendships too, and loving your friends. And my personal experience, I was madly in love with my best friend in high school, madly in love with him. Our parents met in high school. So I was like, well, that's what we're going to do. And then he came out to me and I was like, oh, okay. But I still feel
Happens. It
yeah.
happens.
And he came out young.
Yeah.
He came out to me our junior year of high school. So we were young and we spent our whole senior year. I was the only one that knew and everybody thought we were together. But the thing that I take away from it is he was the first man that taught me how I should be loved. It was a completely romantic relationship. It was not sexual, right? Because he was not into women. And we were young, but it was so fulfilling in so many ways. And like, I'm engaged now and I see now how much that relationship, the way he loved me, set me up for this. Like, so, I mean, if you could talk to us a little bit about as much as you want about that relationship that you had with your wife, which you still have such lovely things to say about her. Like, it's so much more complicated than just like, I was living a lie, right? You did love her. You had this whole relationship with her. That's what happens is that we tell ourselves some things matter more than others. And maybe if that's not aligned, we're best friends. And so we're going to have a great marriage. And I just think it's something that we don't talk about. We act like it's very much either this way or that way. And it's so much more complicated than that, right?
I think you're exactly right. And, it's not even unfortunate that you had that experience because at the end of the day, you're taking it as a positive.
Yeah.
So that's something that my ex-wife and I also say.
Right.
I don't regret it and she doesn't regret it. And trust me, it's a lot better that she doesn't regret it because at the end of the day, like, when, you play those roles and you go down the rabbit hole into marriage, well, at the end of the day, you are burning somebody. For your while you're trying to figure yourself out, it's not fair to that person. So, whether someone goes into their 50s or someone figures it out when they're 17 or a junior in high school, or me figuring out right after, medical school, everyone has their own journeys, but the longer you bring someone into that rabbit hole, the more, animosity, there will be with that. I feel like I did it at an appropriate time. Not that there is any right or wrong by any means. But we didn't have kids, we didn't build a life yet. And it just took me that long to figure myself out. Touching back on your question though, is we both still feel like it was a huge positive. We're both still involved in each other's lives. She lives very close to me. My partner and I watch their kids from time to time.
That's so nice.
You know what I mean? So she's she's moved on. She's still invited to all of our holiday times, birthdays, and things like that. So she is still an integral part of our family.
Yeah.
So there's not one thing negative that I have to say about that. And she's been one of my biggest supporters. So
I love that. And I think that
learned
goes
a
back.
lot from her. She's learned a
Yeah.
lot from me too in the
I
experience.
love that.
Yeah.
And I think that goes back to this idea of like, we talk about like our people, right? Like you can make a family for yourself and it can look however you want it to look like. So I want to know, go back a little bit. You know, we talk a lot of at Fresh Starts and to a lot of our podcast guests about when we're young, we're conditioned, right, to be this person, whether it's a mother, a doctor, a lawyer, right? What was it like? You know, where did you grow up? What was growing up like? And how did that kind of condition you into becoming the doctor and the husband? And then what was that moment like when you realized, oh shit, this is not what I thought my life was going to be like?
That's a really good question, and it's something that I think a lot of kids deal with. Probably every kid. You know, I grew up in a small town in Pennsylvania. I grew up very Christian, and everyone has their own religion story, and you know, positive or negative. It affects people's lives in a variety of different ways. In my life, I thought it was ultimately positive because it shaped who I was, taught me a ton of values, made me really close to different, you know, friends and family members. But, you know, it ended up bringing me into a world where certain things were right and certain things were wrong versus, you know, for the Bible, against the Bible, whatever. Now, that's Christianity. That's Catholicism.
Right.
You know, you're not even touching on Judaism or any of the other religions. So I can only speak to, you know, being a Christian. Yeah, I was definitely brought up in a world where it just was not okay. If you were gay, and if you were, it was a, you know, a trial that God was giving you, and you know, you could be, you know, if you really wanted to fight it, and internally it was just something that like trials and tribulations, you know, all that stuff, that you could just pray and continue to work on, and it's something that you could ultimately fight. So that's what I did. I did that. I thought I was strong enough to beat it. You know, athlete mentality, just wanted to crush that challenge that God was giving me. And I believed I could. Ultimately, through, you know, continued perseverance, finding the right girl. You know, she was my best friend in college. We went to a Christian university. She had the same belief system as me. So it was very easy. 1, 2, 3. I was like, all right, I'm going to, and I never acted on it. I just, in my mind, I always knew needs, wants, whatever, but never acted on it.
Yeah.
So you know, finding a girl that I loved, and you were exactly right with what you said. You do love them. She was my best
and like
friend.
my guy Audie, like he deeply loves me, and he's definitely like, there's been moments when he's like gets jealous of like the fact that I'm moving out of the country to be with my fiance, you know, like he deeply still like it
Totally.
it remains. Yeah,
you do have that love. It's a strong bond, and it's a bond that I don't regret. And sometimes, like, you know, spouses or stuff, or like my partner or different things, like I'm sure people look at that relationship and that bond, and it's like, oh wow, that's interesting, you know, and that probably don't know how to feel about it in certain, you know, places and times. But long story short is, you know, when you do go down that journey, and you suppress, um, and you don't see things in this world that show you that yes, this is okay. No, you are not wrong. No, you are not going to hell. You know, I didn't have any of that.
Right.
Now there were people in my life that were positive influences. My uncle was gay. He always brought his business partner over to the house for holidays and different things like that. I mean, look, I'm 39 years old. The difference between just 15, 20 years, you know, and so on and so forth. So what I always ask people is like, you know, maybe someone in their 20s or someone like, 20 to 25. It's like, how was your experience in high school?
Yeah.
You know, because like words, you know, people call the younger generation snowflakes and stuff now, but not straight up, like words hurt. And like, if I'm talking about like this mouse is gay,
Right.
you know, and those words that we all used to use to explain something in a negative way when I was that
Yeah.
negative word, you know,
Yeah.
it's just something that I want to see the shift.
Mhm.
So I always ask younger people, like, do you guys still talk like that?
Yeah.
You know,
You're
because
totally
I
right.
hope that the answer is always no.
Yeah.
And I've heard, yeah, no one really uses words like that anymore, but who knows? You know, I don't know. I'm not in it.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
hope. I
You're
hope and
right.
wish.
You're right.
Yeah.
I'm 37, and I very much remember that in high school. There was a lot of
Same.
Mm-hmm.
conversations like that. And we went to a private school in Long Island, and a lot of those rhetoric. And
Yeah.
so I very much understand that. So what made you go to medical school?
Actually, the girl that I'm talking about, always wanted to do something in medicine. I went to college to play baseball. I wanted to be a professional baseball player, and then side note, I wanted to be a pharmacist.
Okay.
So she kind of understood who I was as a person, and realized that I wouldn't necessarily, my personality didn't fit being a pharmacist.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of talked me out of it. And one of her family friends was a podiatrist.
Mm-hmm.
So through that, like my podiatrist that I went through when I was younger, there was just like a huge world out there. And podiatry is just growing and growing and growing. And with my TV show and different things that I'm doing, people are kind of understanding what podiatry is and what the amazing things that we can do.
Right.
So I'm super happy to, be leading the way with that and my co-stars on the show. So, that's what led me to that. Yeah, she pushed me again. So
I love that.
super positive still. Yeah.
Well,
I love it.
the athletics and the podiatry go together, right? Like so much of what we do and how we move and the way that like it radiates up our leg is, so much has to do with the foot.
Absolutely. Yeah, our bodies are natural shock absorbers. I say
Yeah.
it all the time, but you're running around, you're playing soccer, you're doing whatever. I mean, all of that, goes up through your whole body.
Yeah.
It affects your knees, your hips, your backs. I mean, your back,
Everything.
literally everything. Yeah.
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 So I tell that to all my athletes.
Yeah. So you were married, and then you decide to come out to your wife. I would assume first, probably
Early.
She was
early.
first.
She
Yeah,
was
she was
first.
first. Yeah.
And then what's the journey
Yeah.
after that like for you?
Well, it was a challenge because, in my life, I needed to take a step backwards, so we were living together. We had a nice condo in Weehawken. I was living near my residency at the time. So I needed to move out of a comfortable situation. Sometimes uncomfortable for a variety of different reasons, that we just discussed. But yeah, moved out of a comfortable situation into like a studio apartment. And I was in a studio apartment that was, it was tough.
Yeah.
And just going to residency and those rigorous hours doing that. And then also for figuring out myself.
Yeah.
So then it was the journey of where do I go?
Yeah.
Who are my friends?
Yeah.
So one of the things that was cool about me is like all my friends like that I had and still have, their whole question to me was when I was starting to come out and stuff, was like, how do you act when you're out? Well, I act the same way that I'm acting with you on this
Yeah.
podcast. It's like,
Yeah.
my God, like, what do you think? How do you think I'm acting?
Well,
Right.
Why would I
tough.
change?
I think of my friend when he came out and he went to college, and he was like, he definitely thought he had to take on like a certain persona. And it's funny because now he like lives in the country. He's been with his partner for over 10 years. He lives in the country. He is like, if you saw him, you'd be like, that is a mountain man. Like he is like,
Right.
he's exactly himself, but he did have to take that journey of being like, am I this kind or am I that kind, or like what's my persona? And it's tough. I mean, I think when you're a little bit older, you know who you are and you're coming out into the situation. But yeah, like, did you like, I have a couple of questions. So my first question is, for some couples, when one person comes out, that's not an automatic like end, right? Like they're like, well, maybe we'll have a situation or we'll sort of like exist in this marriage, but we'll both do our own thing. For you guys, it was like, you knew that you both had to go find other like lives from each other.
Yeah. So like when I first came out to her, it was like tears, hugs. I think it was just an emotional, like realization, because we were struggling just as a relationship, and thinking that our marriage might fail. And at the end of the day, like, yeah, we were fighting and stuff, but you know, it was all because of what I was dealing with internally.
Right.
So it was almost like a burden was released,
Mm-hmm.
you know, from the situation, because there was finally an answer. She was intelligent enough, and really listen to that. Like, she was intelligent enough to just get it.
Yeah.
You know, so like my whole thing is like, and I say it all the time, is like, there's a big difference between, you know, accepting, loving, and understanding. So like, she just immediately understood. Other people, like some of my friends that I came out to, it's like, oh man, we'll always love you. We don't care if you know, you're with a guy or a girl, or if you want to marry your dog, you know, whatever.
You're like,
And I'm like, dude, I'm like, that's, you should care if I want to marry a dog, bro. You know, like,
it's a little
weird
reductive
statement. Yeah, it's just like, yes, you should care. I appreciate your acceptance and love, but Jesus, like, I take the time, try to understand this. I'm telling you how it is. You've known me since I was 5. You know, and then just take some time to understand. So it's beautiful when someone has the intelligence to understand immediately. Not everyone has that.
No.
But it's nice. It's nice to have that, and she had that. So we just parted our separate ways. You know, maintained our friendship and gave each other space where needed. But ultimately, we're still each other's, you know, rock.
Yeah.
I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, you did.
I feel like I jumped off. I jumped off topic there.
You did, and it gets me to my next question, which was how, you know, making friends as an adult is really hard. And I'm curious sort of how you built or found a community of people. I'm sure like you went and wanted to like communicate and be, you know, friends with other gay men and stuff like that. Like, how did you build that community?
Sure. So I think my journey was pretty interesting, because I still had all my friends. So it's not like I needed to go out and want to form a new group of friends. It's like, if I met somebody that just happened to be gay, I would want him to be friends with all my straight buddies.
Right.
You know, it's just like meeting another friend. So I didn't like actively go out and search for like people in the gay community or whatever. Now, going out, just say you go out to a gay bar or something, yeah, eventually throughout talking, you're going to become friendly with people that you meet. But my biggest, I'm super thankful to my uncles, because they were gay and their journey was their journey. They, you know, they lived together, and eventually he became integral part in our family's life, and wasn't his business partner
I was going to say, they became more than business partners at some point.
Like finally we all just, you know, understood. And the dialogue didn't need to happen, and that was just his partner. So, you know, coming out to them, they introduced me to all their friends.
That's awesome.
And that was super cool too. Now, different age groups, you know, with that. But we hung out a lot, went on vacations, and I'm still friends with them all to this day.
I love that.
So it was that, for sure. So it was, I just don't feel like there needs to be separate groups. If that helps at all. So it was more like, if I have a friend, they're gonna be friends with my old group, and then if I form a new group, we'll form a new group. But I just don't think anything needs to be separated anymore.
No, of course not. I guess I was wondering, because I think so much of that, like you said, like when you go out, who you're going to go out with, like if you want to go out with people that like also want to go to the gay bars, right? Like there's just so much there, and it's a whole new world that you hadn't really been a part of. So I was super curious about that, but it makes sense. I mean, you're not going to just abandon your straight friends. That would not make any sense.
Hey, listen, it was challenging though. Oh, super challenging. Yeah. Because just, you know, saying, you know, the analogy about the mouse, you know, it's like the dialogue that we had. I mean, you're 37, I'm 39. That's the same. We had the same dialogue, or the kids in school did. So it's definitely hard. It's definitely hard, you know, determining like, this group of people still talks like this. You're making a change to not. So then you go back here, and they still have the same rhetoric, still have the same BS. So that's a challenge. And then you have to make the decision: is do you try to make a change, or do you just accept it and realize that that's just the culture at that, you know, with that group? To me, I always said, like, you know, I don't care how you all talk. I used to talk the same way, and I'm just letting you know, I don't talk like that anymore because it hurts. So if you're
Yeah.
around me, you know, and you feel like you want to say those things, just let me know that, you know, it does bite a little bit, but
Yeah.
I won't get upset, but it bites.
Yeah.
love
You know?
that.
How did they respond
Yeah.
to, like, what happened after that?
They don't say it anymore.
Because they love you and they don't want
And
you
they
to hurt.
respect
And that's
you.
beautiful.
Right.
Yeah.
And they
Yeah,
respect you.
right.
That's
But I love
awesome.
that.
Yeah.
I love that. You know, we talk a lot at Fresh Starts about scripts, right? Scripts for like the brave conversations. And what you
Mhm.
just said is such a beautiful script that you could apply to anything, right? Like
Totally.
whether you're going through a divorce or you're coming out or whatever, and saying like, I'm standing up for myself and using my voice. You can choose to continue doing what you're doing, but it does hurt me. And I love
Mhm.
that they obviously, I mean, you have a beautiful energy, and like you are clearly a very, very warm, compassionate person. So
Thank you.
like I would understand why your friends would want to support you and love you. And so I love that. Um, but let's go into
Thank
your
you.
fitness world. You have a big, I mean, you are in the fitness world big time. You've been recognized by a lot of different publications and places. So talk to us about, you know, your path. Obviously, you're a world famous doctor, but you're also an athlete in you know, in the fitness world. So how did that all come to be?
Well, just I grew up super athletic and competitive. I mean, I would compete at any, even walking down the street, who could do something faster. I mean, I'm very competitive. But you know, when I became a doctor, there was a show on NBC. It was called The Titan Games with
Mhm.
Dwayne Johnson, and he was just trying to get regular, everyday people together to compete to see if they could really challenge themselves to become like a Titan, and then the
Mm.
ultimate, you know, Titan or whatever it is. So I didn't win that, obviously, but I did become one of the Titans. So
Yeah.
you get to like the final 9 guys when you
Mm.
become a Titan, and the other ones were competitors. But yeah, I just pushed my body in a variety of different ways that I never trained for. I was a baseball player growing up, and
Mm-hmm.
soccer player, basketball player, things like that. But this was just crazy from a fitness side. Like I was climbing. You ever play the game Kerplunk?
Yeah.
Yes.
You know, where you pull the straws or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So I actually did like a human kerplunk. So you're climbing up it, you're pulling
Oh
the
my gosh.
poles, and then you get to the top one and it drops a ball all the way down, and then you win. So that was like my first competition. But like that's just how it's just like wild stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
And
even know how you do
it was
that.
so fun.
No,
Oh, it
I
was crazy. You should look it up. It was nuts. And
I
I
did
was
a
freaking
tough
scared too.
mudder, and I
Yeah.
had to do, you know, the monkey bars across, and they were like, monkey bars, you drop into the water. And I was like, I guess I'm going for a swim. So like that
Yeah.
was amazing. Yeah.
Did you fall?
Oh yeah. I fell a lot.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But I was doing
Those
that
are
tough,
fun.
but you know, I have to say, like, I did that tough mudder years ago, but I did it the weekend after I had done a half marathon the weekend before. So like I had a week in between, and I run in like not the Vibram Five Fingers, but like in barefoot shoes. And
Mhm.
like I had no pain from either of those events. The only thing I can't do is anything upper body, but the running was
Yeah.
fine. Yeah. And like I've always,
So
you
you're
know,
athletic then. You're
I,
athletic with all that. That's crazy. Those are
yeah.
hard.
More
Yeah, those
athletic than I am.
yeah,
Yeah.
those were
Those are
that was
straight
a
up
while
legit.
ago. That was about not yet 10 years ago, but yeah, I mean, I've been running, well, it's a whole journey with me and the
Mhm.
athleticism, but we can get into that in another podcast. But I
Sure.
found speaking of feet, that like I wear flats all the time, and my boyfriend at the time was like trying to get me into like Nike Frees and things like that, and I was like, they hurt, and he was like, well, you wear flats, like you're practically barefoot all the time, what about these
Yeah.
Merrells? So I run in Merrells.
Yeah.
I like barrels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are good.
Yeah.
So yeah, just like touching on like Titan games, Tough Mudder,
Yeah.
things like that. You know, all of those have like wild you know, obstacles to overcome,
Yeah.
right? Ninja Warrior, things like
Mm-hmm.
that, obstacles. So, you know, when that craze hit, they were looking for regular people to go on TV. Loved
Right.
that experience. Then the TLC show My Feet Are Killing Me came
Yeah.
Yeah.
around.
So how did that
Not
come up?
necessarily.
I want to
Yeah,
like know that journey.
not even because of the Titan games or anything, but I was really putting out there on Instagram just like um just being real.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, it's like being myself, being fun, happy doctor rather than being just boring and tired and complaining about
Yeah.
my journey. It's like, you know, life's hard. This is how I persevered. This is how I work out, and this is how I have fun. So I really put a fun doctor vibe out on on all socials.
Yeah.
And I incorporated a lot with fitness into that. So really just like health and wellness.
Right.
So the TV show, when Dr. Pimple Popper and stuff started exploding, I think production companies were looking for what could be next.
Yeah.
And feet, like I always say, feet are gross. They're sexy. They're fun.
Right.
There's a whole different, everyone has like a different version of where they find feet. So like I said, some find them sexy. I don't, but some people do. Some find them gross. I don't, but some people do. So it's like must-see TV for some people.
Right.
So that's kind of how the TV show started. And then, throughout all this, Men's Health came along and they were doing the ultimate guy search. And so I was thinking to myself, I'm like, with my journey, with perseverance, with all my failures, with, coming out publicly, which I just did, a year ago, last Pride, I think I felt like I had something to say. And, with Men's Health, growing up, Men's Health was always like these big guys that, and not to say that anyone ever felt like this, but it almost portrayed a version of like the toxic masculinity that we were just saying,
Yeah.
And that was the version of what the ultimate guy was that person that was always on the cover, always fighting, always, it was always just like a freaking battle to see who was tougher, you know? So they're trying to rescript what their version of the modern male is.
Right.
And it's neither one way is positive or negative. It's just the script needs to be flipped sometimes. And, now is a time I feel that we can, flip it. It's already been flipped. It's not like I'm leading the charge, but I have a positive response to it, and add to it. There's also too, like, and this is how I really feel, is like there's not a lot of people out there that have like, well, stereotypes, right? So people in my hometown and in different, hometowns across, the world, they view, say, gay. Well, say a stereotype, draw a caricature, kids will draw a caricature. Right. So if there's more people out there that maybe the character doesn't always have to be this, and this, wear this, this, and this, I feel like, I'm in Scrubs. I act the way that I act. I play sports and different things. So if the character can change, black,
Representation
white,
is
gay,
really
straight,
important.
everything. It's like, just change your character. It's tired. We don't always need to have this.
100%, Brad.
Yeah, representation is important and nuance is tough for people. And I think that more representation makes nuance a little bit easier for people to understand. Like, just being gay doesn't mean you're this way. It also can mean you're an athlete and a doctor and like all of these other things that people are. We contain multitudes.
And that's why it matters.
Yes.
People always say, why just do it? Why does it matter? It matters because of the things that I'm just saying.
Exactly.
100%.
Like have your kid draw a caricature of like who a gay person is and see what they draw.
Right.
Yeah. Because there's a lot of people walking around who are gay and living their lives. So what was it like? What was the journey to coming out publicly? What was that like?
For me, it was easier probably than a lot of people's. And I hope that it's not hard anymore for people.
Yeah.
But yeah, for some people it is. See, I was out happy, proud for 10 plus years. It took me 10 years to get to where I was, but with the TV show, I was like, it was almost like I was being put into a box again that I was already 10 years ago. And I started to read articles and see what people were writing about me, and I was like, I never said anything, whether I was gay, straight, bi, whatever. But you're telling me and now the whole world that this is the way, you're perceiving me.
Yeah.
So I just felt it was time that I just wanted to say my truth. You know, again, I'm not trying to lead any charge, but I just think it's a positive thing to do.
Yeah.
So I want to be a positive influence. And by doing that, I feel like it was positive.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So if somebody's going through a fresh start or a brave decision, or if you have a patient that is going through something, what are some wise words that you would tell somebody going through something that's scary and big?
Same motto I live every day in my life. I don't think it's corny to repeat things. I mean this. It's perseverance. You know, if one day sucks and this experience sucks, you will have sucky experiences. Persevere. The next one will be better. And even if it's just a little better, the next one will be a little better than that. You might step back a little bit. If you just keep going, working, fail the test, so what? You know what I mean? You'll eventually pass the freaking class. You know, if through perseverance, you will pass the class. Through perseverance, you will get to a place where you're comfortable. Through perseverance, you will meet a friend group where you're comfortable and people accept you. You know, so you just gotta keep working at it, knowing that although this is awful or this experience might be awful, there's a positive in it. There really is.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, you'll find that happiness. And life's a freaking roller coaster, man.
It is.
It's not even bullshit. It's a total roller coaster.
It really is.
It is. So what's coming up next for you? What's big into 2023 for Dr. Brad?
My baby right now is my practice on 85th and Central Park West. It's called Central Park Soul. We do everything foot and ankle related. I'm also building a wellness center here. So everything health and wellness is going to be brought to this place. But yeah, I'm looking for all opportunities just to continue to, you know, talk, branch out, and do some positive work. I just did a thing with Zero Prostate Cancer on Wednesday night to open up Fashion Week. So I actually walked in the Blue Jacket Fashion Show to try to end prostate cancer. Yeah, it's crazy stuff. So like I'm doing work with the Walk to Cure Arthritis. It's the Arthritis Foundation in New York City. So I'm doing a lot of that right now. I do a lot of work with podiatry societies and also Dr. Scholl's. I'm super passionate about what they're doing. So yeah, really just getting out there and spreading the word, not just with myself, health and wellness, but also podiatry is a big focus, and everyone needs to know that foot health and overall health and wellness is just super important. So listen, I'm not perfect by any means, but if we can literally just try to be as positive as we can and uplift others, we're going to make the world a better place. And
we agree.
that's all I can say.
All we're about here too. And I just I love man. I can see how successful you already are, but that you are going to be because you live in alignment, right? You live in alignment with your truth. And I feel like when you
your truths, like
all of your truth, like when you step into yourself and you just, like you said, like you're a happy person who's just trying to lift other people up and, you know, make this world a better place, the opportunities are just going to keep falling in your lap because you clearly are somebody that is so passionate about what you do and easy to work with and a good friend and a good person. And so we're super excited to like watch you as you do all these things. But the hardest question we will ask you today, Dr. Brad, what was the last thing that you ate and truly loved?
I'm gonna be super basic about this, but I'm telling you, I eat whole wheat Tostitos scoops. They're my passion. I love them.
Tostitos, gotta sponsor Dr. Brad. Yeah.
Scoops. I eat those up like candy. So I'll have even though I'm having like a nice meal, right? I'm just like chilling, eating my meal, a little scoop, one scoop or two. I like the crunch with it. So I love some Tostitos scoops. Honestly, with every meal except breakfast.
I do. I love I turn any salad into like a dip. I'm like, can I eat it with a chip? Because like I don't know. It's better that way. It feels more fun.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that. I
No,
love
I
that.
get it. I get it. But yeah, Tostito scoops.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect.
We'll take
Those
it.
were the last thing that I absolutely enjoyed eating.
I
I
love
it.
had them last night at dinner, and I will be having them at lunch when we get off this phone.
I
This
love
podcast.
I love that. I love that. Well, we will put all your links and everything in the
Yes.
show notes so everybody can go
Thank you.
follow you, find out what you're doing, read all about the amazing things you're doing. And just thank you for taking the time and talking to us and being so vulnerable with your story because, like you said, representation is
Yes.
everything. And, you know, we are
Mhm.
all about changing the world with kindness and brave decisions. And we know that you are on board with that. So thank you for
Yes.
everything and being here, Dr. Brad.
Oh, thank you. And I appreciate you guys too. Podcasts that are trying to do better and help people. Listen, you're at the forefront also. So
Thank you. Thank you. We
why
appreciate
not?
that. Thank you for listening to today's story. We're always here and we're proud of you. Until next time, brave one.
A Fresh Story is brought to you by Fresh Starts Registry, the first and only platform for everything you need to start again. You can read the show notes and learn more about today's episode at freshstartsregistry.com/podcast.
As always, we want to remind our listeners that while we strive to provide accurate and helpful information, we are not medical doctors or mental health professionals. We want to remind you all that the information shared in this podcast is not a substitute for professional advice. We highly recommend consulting a qualified healthcare or mental health professional for any concerns or questions you may have. Remember, we are a podcast, but we are not licensed medical professionals. Always consult with your healthcare provider for any medical decisions. And as a gentle reminder, all opinions are our guests and do not necessarily reflect our own.